A new year means a new set of Medicom Mafex figures to be scheduled for 2023, as I will go through all the superhero releases for their DC and Marvel lines. And we know a lot of the figures were meant to come out last year, but with the date changes and delays, it's now no longer a surprise for Medicom to once again reshuffle the dates. So this is the latest update list of figures that are coming out, but always subject to changes. And of course you can check out the listing yourself on their Medicom website and give you updates. But in this video I'll give you the overall breakdown and my opinions on the releases. First up is a figure that's already been out. I've seen it in person and I think it looks better than these photos, and that is the Dark Knight Returns Superman, based on the comic book cover version of The Dark Knight Falls. This is a very unique figure. As you can see, it's a silhouette of the Man of Steel to reflect that cover page, and this is a one that's going to be only colors in the chest and cape, so it's not for everyone. I must say, if you want the definitive Frank Miller version of Superman, you should get the colored version they released before. But if you want everything Mafex DC and you're a huge fan of the Frank Miller version, then this is another option. And that does bring me on to the other side. The Batman figure, the Dark Knight, is in a fully black silhouette, so just like the cover, and this instantly fits next to the Superman figure. I noticed there is a knife in hand, and it's pretty much a very different concept. Again, I won't say it's a great figure to display unless you get the Superman one to complement each other, and I would prefer the colored armored version. But just like the Son of Krypton, this is an option, and it was meant to be scheduled last year, so I expect it to be released this month as well. One of the first releases of the year will be Webman, and this is following the Amazing Spider-Man release, and this is part of the Spidey Super Stories. So he's meant to be a copy of Spider-Man, I believe a villain, and even though I haven't really read the comics, I think this is a great alternative version. And even though recently we had a Hasbro release, we know that Mafex makes some very good Spider-Mans, so this is worth considering. Then also in the first month of the year, we're expecting the Black Suit Superman from the Zack Snyder's Justice League. So finally we get the first figure since that movie came out, and this is the Superman that really made the changes to that film. I know Mafex gave us the complete team before, but Superman was in the original colors, so this is going to be a bit familiar but also very different. And I think if you want a definitive Superman Mafex figure, this won't be the one. And even a black suit version, you would go for the comic one that he released before. That's more iconic. But this is exclusive to Zack Snyder's Justice League and just one for the fans. And I also think the new head sculpts really represent the Superman well in this film, and is very different to what we got in the previous Justice League and Dawn of Justice versions. So we also have the Harlequin Birds of Prey figure, known as the Caution Tape version, and we already got the gold jumpsuit version previously, which of course is from the final battle. But this one is a cool looking figure with that sandwich, but most people will probably want the gold jumpsuit or even a costume of her from the shootout scene and the police station. But this is what Medicom have advantages over, say, the SH Figuarts, is we get a lot more of the looks. So just like the first Suicide Squad movie figures, we got multiple costumes of Harlequin, and they've done the same this time. And this one is for those who are big fans of Harlequin, as I didn't really enjoy this movie, but of course this is just another option to have. And staying on DC movies, in January we have our first Wonder Woman 84 figure with the Wonder Woman Golden Eagle armor. Now, we haven't even got the standard one announced, but I don't think Mafex are looking to do it, since we already got a good enough version of the solo movie as well as the Justice League versions of Wonder Woman. And I think Medicom may just skip it since it's too similar, so this is probably going to be the only Wonder Woman 84 we're going to get. It is a special suit in the comics for this film. Of course, it was in the final battle with Cheetah, and I think it will still stand out on your display. The head sculpt might be the best Wonder Woman on a Mafex, and regardless of the film's reception, this is going to be a popular one and a very unique and possibly a one-off look only for this film. And moving on to the Marvel live action, with the Marvel Cinematic Universe, we will be getting Loki from the Infinity War line. And of course, Loki, a fan favorite, and especially as this is the first Loki Mafex, this is going to be in demand. And me personally, I collect the SH Figuarts as well as the Marvel Legends for the MCU figures, since they give us a more complete collection. But this is a costume that is unique and something that SH Figuarts didn't offer. Now, Medicom do take their time over the MCU, and it doesn't look like they'll be diving into any other lines apart from the Infinity War and Endgame. But either way, if you collect Mafex Marvel figures and if you just want one figure per character, then of course Loki is a must in the collection. And moving on to February, possibly due to some reshuffles, we are going to get the Cyclops color variant version from the X-Men comics. So it's not the classic blue and yellow suit which we already had before. I assume it will be similar mold, however, as well as the accessories. So it's not a bad thing since you don't want to fix what's not broken. And I believe the yellow and blue suit is the more popular one, so this one is probably not a must. And now to some more comic book stuff with the DC Batman Hush line with Huntress. Now this is a line we already have figures of, so it's no surprise they keep expanding on it with new characters. So Huntress is scheduled for March. It is a character we don't see that often in figures. You might have to go back to the old days of Mattel or DC Multiverse. So this one is going to be a popular one. Staying in March releases, we have the Marvel comic book characters now with Deadpool from the X-Force line. Now Deadpool is always a popular character regardless of the colour, and I know Mafex have a lot of X-Men figures already, but this is the first X-Force line I believe. So it's likely you will have a Deadpool figure already in your collection. It's not a must, but if you don't have one, especially a Mafex version, this is worth a try. And one character we've been seeing a lot from Mafex, Hasbro, Revolta in recent years is Wolverine. And this is added to the Deadpool from the X-Force line. So the colours is the black and grey one, not the usual yellow or brown suit. It is very unique and automatically people will notice this is from the X-Force. My memories of X-Men from the 90s animated series and the Fox version. So this is not a definitive look of the Wolverine for me. Certainly, of course, they will have many admirers. So this is also expected in March. And in April, we'll be getting Nightwing, which is also a fan favourite, a very popular character amongst DC fans. And this is also from the Hush line after the Huntress release, as they keep expanding as many characters now from the line. And it does come in a nice blend of the black and blue colours as well as a set of weapons. So this is a instant hit regardless of it being from Hush or any other DC comic releases. Also in the same month, we'll be getting X-Men Storm from the comic books, and this is such a classic look that brings back a lot of memories, especially for the animated series. It looks like it's jumped straight out of the comics as the sculpt is fantastic, and I always prefer Storm in the white costume over the black one, as I always liked it in the 90s series. And since there's already a Cyclops, Jean Grey, Wolverine, Gambit, this was likely to be the next expected figure, and after this I won't be surprised if they release a Charles, Beast and Rogue adding to the line. And this figure is scheduled for April. In the same month of April, Magneto will be arriving to the X-Men line. We have been seeing the Marvel Legends as well as a few years ago a Revoltech one which looks great, but if you didn't get your chance to get any of those, this is certainly an option. Of course, if you collect all the Mafex X-Men comic book figures, then Magneto is a no-brainer. In May, we'll be getting the Iron Man Mark 50 from the Infinity War line. So Medicom have concentrated on their Marvel Cinematic Universe for the Infinity Saga, so they simply couldn't leave out Star from this movie. We had a beautiful Mark 85 already, but the Mark 50 is just as important, especially as we've seen the Captain America and Thor release from the Infinity War line. So this one only makes sense. Now, if you are want to get one figure per person, then I'm sure you have an Iron Man already in your collection, but Mafex always seem to do something special, so look out for the Mark 50. Staying on Marvel, we will have a comic book version of Thor in May, and I believe this is based on the Jack Kirby version, which is such a classic look. And having already seen a comic book Iron Man release from Medicom, it was inevitable they would build on the Avengers lineup at some point. Also in May, we'll be getting the Steel Superman, which of course is from the Return of Superman line. And this is a nice collection they're building, having previously released the Cyborg Superman as well as the Black Suit version. And then Zack Snyder's Justice League line continues with more exclusive releases, as this time we get a new Cyborg. And this includes the mechanical arms, the mask helmet, which of course were both missing from the original movie, let alone the figure. And the paint colours also seem very different this time with a lighter shade, although we don't know for sure until we get it in hand. But this is a must for anyone, especially who missed out on the first version. And since this is an updated Cyborg, it might be the last one of the new Justice League line. Halfway into the year, in June, we're going to be getting the Ben Reilly Spider-Man, the Scarlet Spider, and I lost count of how many Spider-Mans are out there. To me, it doesn't really matter which company makes them now, since Hasbro are really killing it with their comic book representations. And whether it was the retro card, the Renew Your Vows, Amazing Fantasy, or the animated version, it was a great figure. But Mafex is Mafex, and people still see the Amazing Spider-Man release as the best on the market, so a Scarlet Spider will probably be no different. It does use a soft material for the top, and this will definitely be limited as we can never get enough of the Spider-Man figures. In the summer of July, Rescue will be arriving to the Endgame line, and this is another character we see for the first time, so if you're building your Endgame team, then this is a must. I already have the SH Figuarts version, which is good enough for me. And there's also a Hasbro version out there, but the advantage of this one is you get multiple head sculpts, and we even have the open helmet version, which SH Figuarts didn't do. But I think Hasbro did it in a 2-pack with the Captain Marvel, but this one of course will be a different quality. And then to me, one of the most anticipated figures of the Mafex year, and that is the Batman, the 2022 movie version. We've seen the McFarlane one, the SH Figuarts one, they're both okay, but it seems as though Mafex take the win with their head sculpts, proportions and accessories based on these photos. Now the only one I see competing with this is Mezco. I think they used the realistic materials to give it that really grounded year 2 vibe, and also will include the wingsuit. But if you get this Mafex, I think you will be satisfied as the definitive The Batman. And this is scheduled for July. And whilst Tamashii Nations are way ahead with the Spider-Man No Way Home line, Medicom will give us our first in September with the upgraded suit. And this looks to be an improvement to the previous Far From Home version, and this is one of the reasons to get it if you don't have that version. So this would be an ideal pickup, and this is a nice warm-up, I believe, to opening the doors for more figures for this movie. It would be incredible if this was the only No Way Home figure, so I do expect the integrated suit, Peter 2, Peter 3, Goblin, Doc Ock, Electro, the list goes on, they will be released following this. We might not get all the villains, but for the 3 Spider-Mans, I'm sure Mafex will do it at some point. We just don't know how many years later. And one figure we have known about for some time, and I've talked about it before, is their Iron Man Mark 85, the Final Battle Edition. So just like Tamashii Nations and Hasbro, they released the iconic scene in Endgame, which is once again represented by Medicom. So Mafex have a version of the Mark 85 that's going to be a must for every collector. And there's nothing more to say than I am Iron Man, as this one will include that nano gauntlet. And even though they already have a Mark 85, of course this one is very different. So this figure is scheduled for September. And it's not a Hush line without Poison Ivy, which will be scheduled for November. With a large line of Hush figures already, this is going to be the icing on the cake. And of course it will work really well with that Hush Superman. The sculpt looks excellent, and just like most of the comic book figures, this is going to be in demand, and I believe this is the first Poison Ivy Hush in years. So that wraps up the Mafex year releases scheduled, a fully packed and exciting year ahead. Of course, other companies do it differently. They might announce a figure and it could be released in 2 or 3 months time. So Medicom might seem to take ages, and of course a lot of dates are delayed, but in reality they are announcing them a lot in advance. Like and subscribe, and be sure to comment which figure you are looking forward to the most. A top 3 would be a good read. Thanks for watching, and hope to see you next time.